Hi everybody. This is one of the rear folding seats from the back of a 2006 Chevy Uplander. And one of the problems with these rear seats is that if you have kids that go climbing around in the back of the van, this piece of plastic that goes on the back of the seat usually breaks off. So I've had to do this repair a couple times on some different Uplanders, and the way I've found that's a pretty good durable repair is to use 1/4-20 hardware and drill out the plastic cover to secure this flap and to secure the metal brackets onto the back of the seat so that it stays in position. So basically what happens here, along this whole back on the inside, there's plastic. It's basically part of the molding process. There's plastic tabs where these bolts are at. So when they assemble this in the factory, to make things fast, they basically just, melt the plastic over and use that to secure it. But when this is all assembled and somebody steps on the edge of this, over time those plastic tabs wear, they stretch, they flex back and forth, and eventually they break and pop off. So then you have this plastic cover is loose, this flip door gets loose, and eventually it just breaks off. So what I do is I drill them out and re-secure everything with 3/4 inch long 1/4-20 bolts, and on the outside I use fender washers. So you can just pick these up at Lowe's, just 1/4 inch fender washers and 3/4 inch long bolts. And on the inside I use standard washers with lock nuts. So these are the nylon Nylock lock nuts. Which just make it a little bit easier because now you don't have to use a lock washer. The lock nut will hold everything in place. Now for the end, in this case I did not drill this side out. Instead, I just put in bolts from behind, basically securing this black plastic piece to the flap of the door and to the bracket. And then down on this side, I only drilled out one of the holes and I put a bolt in there. And on the other side, I did just the same thing I did on this end. It's just 1/4-20 bolt that's holding these three pieces together, but it's not actually attaching it to the cover. So you might be wondering, well, why not just drill it all the way through? And yeah, I could have. I guess it's kind of 6 of one, half dozen of the other. But you're not actually getting any strength from this plastic cover. That's just a decorative, shield to cover all of this mechanism. It's actually this corrugated kind of plastic felt covered material and these metal brackets. That's what really matters. That's what's doing the structural support for this whole assembly. So as long as these components are attached together and attached to the bracket, the whole thing's going to stay together and the plastic cover is going to stay on. Now I have another example of this. Over here is another seat I worked on previously, and I basically did the same repair on this seat, except here I only used 2 bolts to secure this plastic cover onto the seat. So if we look inside here, you can see it's the same deal. 1/4-20 bolts. On the back side we've got fender washers. On the inside, just standard 1/4 inch washers. For the metal bracket, I'm not using any washer because you don't need it. But that's how this whole side is held together. And like I said, this back plastic piece is just trim, so it's not necessary to have the bolts go all the way through. Now, one of the problems I had on this seat was with these rubber bands that are used for this flap door. And the original ones broke. Actually, what happened is they stretched. So what I did was I went to the dollar store of all places, went to Dollar Tree, and looked through hair ties. And they have ones that are very similar to the material used by the seat manufacturer. So here's the original one that came with the seat, and here's the one at the dollar store. So I'm just using both of them together. And up here on the seat flap, there's a hook for it. And to secure it down at the metal bracket on the seat, I just used a plastic zip tie. And I did the same thing over here on this side. So I did have to go through a couple different packs of hair ties until I found the right ones that work, the right length and the right thickness. But now the flap works again. So, pretty cool. So, there you have it. Seat repair for a Chevy Uplander. Pretty cool. Well, if you have any questions or any comments, post them below. And thanks for watching. And if you like my videos, please subscribe.